Hi, it's me. I wanted to do a quick tutorial to show you guys how easy it is to use Adobe Animate to animate frame by frame and import the layers into After Effects and all that. Sorry if you hear piano in the background. There are young people practicing upstairs. First thing let's do here, it looks like I started out with a blank keyframe. I'm going to nuke that. Shift F5 will clear out all my frames. What I wanted to show you is that I'm going to be drawing at 15 frames per second, and 1920 1080 are my stage dimensions. So yeah, the timeline. The timeline was where everything happens. Right now I have a bunch of empty keyframes. As soon as I right-click and say Insert Frame, I now have an empty keyframe, and I can tell it's empty. Let's see, I can't go to my next frame until I make another empty keyframe. So I'm going back and forth between these two frames with greater than, less than, or comma and period. The way that you can tell that there's no content in a frame is that it is a hollow dot. As soon as I draw something on this frame, you'll see that there is a black dot, and that means that is a keyframe. So we've got keyframes with black dots, hollow dots are just empty frames, and then when we don't have any dots at all, that's just a cleared frame. It's not a keyframe at all. It's not an empty keyframe, it's not a keyframe. It is just void. And the way that you get back to that at any time is to Shift F5 or clear frames. Actually, that didn't do it, did it? Shift F5 nukes everything. So now I have no more frames. Anyway, in order to start, you need to have a frame into which you may paint. And I like to use keyboard shortcuts a lot. So I'm going to hit F7, which gives me a blank keyframe. Yeah, if you're using your laptops, which most of you are, and an iPad or whatever, or a tablet, you're going to probably want to do the right click a lot. And so I guess what I just did was insert frame. Let me try that, Shift F5 to nuke that. F7 will do it. All right, drawing tools. There is a pencil, there's a paintbrush, and then there's a brush tool. Brush tool does not use strokes. Let's see, for frame by frame, that doesn't make much of a difference. What this does not do, what the brush tool does not do, is allow you to draw an outline and then fill it with the paint bucket. So that is why I use mostly these tools. And I'm going to choose the pencil tool because I don't need any kind of fancy brush strokes. I've got my stroke on my pencil set to 10. I've got my ink color is red. So let's do a simple animation. I'm going to start by drawing this right here. That gives me a red stroke. If I go over here to the paint bucket tool and I click in the middle, it will automatically fill it, and it's that easy. If I want to now make a new blank frame to the right, I can hit F7 and it gives me a new blank frame. I can't see what I drew in the previous frame because I don't have onion skinning on. That is right here on the timeline. It is Option Shift O. That's kind of weird. It shows the stroke and the fill overlapping a little bit. If I don't like that, I can use onion skin outline like that. But you know what? I don't mind that, so I'm going to use that. I'm going to draw another ball right here. Oops, I got my paint bucket. I'm going to hit Shift Y, which is the hotkey to get the pencil. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to hit K to get the paint bucket. K is the hotkey for paint bucket. I'm going to go back to Shift Y. I'm going to advance to the next frame by hitting the greater than or the period key. Oh, you know what? You know what I need is a new blank frame. There we go. That automatically advanced me. I didn't have to do anything else. K to fill. F7 to make another frame. Shift Y for pencil. K for paint bucket. And if you find it annoying to have to make the frames as you go, what you can do is just put your mouse, like if you know you're going to be making like 3 seconds of animation, you can click way out here in the timeline And actually what I would do to get a new painting on every frame is just select these empty ones right here and hit F7. It's gonna make tons of little, it's gonna make what, 41 empty keyframes? So now all I have to do is just go greater than, less than. See, I like that a little better. All right, new ball. Oops, I'm drawing with the paint bucket again. Shift Y gives me the pencil. Okay. Greater than, less than. All right, let's say I wanted to preview what I just animated. I would check that off and I would click this loop and I want to only preview those 6 frames. I need to press the return key in order to see my animation. It's kind of a lame animation, I'm sorry, because that is something that you can do with Tweens, but nevertheless, that's what we've got. Okay, another thing that people like to do with Adobe Animate is to do shape tweens, or other people might know it as the shape morph. And so what I want to do here is put down my Apple Pencil and name this layer frame by frame 1. And I'm going to make a new layer right above it. And as you can see, since we had all these blank frames out here, it made me one long blank extended frame. That's actually not a bad thing for what we're about to do. For this next shape morph, I'm actually going to use the brush tool that I was telling you about that does not allow you to fill with paint bucket, because I'm not going to need to do that for this exercise. So starting at frame 1, let's just do, I'm just going to fill it myself. I'm going to make a nice bubbly, round, amateur looking T here. And as you can see, I have a keyframe that extends 45 frames. I don't want that. I need to have a keyframe at the beginning and a keyframe at the end. So what I'm going to do is select this very last frame here and hit F6, which is add keyframe. So as you can see, let me hit to the left here. I've got one keyframe here and one long keyframe here. All I need to do now to make a shape tween, well, I need to change the second keyframe for one thing. And let's just do that by changing the color. And let me add a little bit more to it. Let me just see if we can morph it into a hastily drawn circle. So the shape is changing and the color is changing. So that T is going to change into a circle. Second keyframe is a yellow circle. First keyframe is a red T. All I need to do now is right click in between and create a shape tween. Let's go ahead and loop and hit return to preview. It is a very, very slow morph. So what we're going to do here is hit return to stop, take off the loop, and there are a couple of ways I could shorten this. I could do that, and now I've got a long keyframe there. So I'm going to select all of these frames except for this keyframe right here, and I'm going to shift F5, which is nuke all frames or clear out all frames, and I'm going to do the same for this bottom row here. Shift F5. Let's see, I keep forgetting that you guys are on laptops. I'm using an attached keyboard here, which is the best way to do things. Unbiased, clear frames. Man, clear frames doesn't do it. Remove frames, that's what I'm doing. Remove frames. All right, let's preview that. Okay, that's a little bit better. If I wanted it to morph back into its original T, I could do that. The most reliable way to get this to work is to just select first keyframe into option drag. So I'm going to drag our red T and I'm going to drag it just out here to like frame 20. Hey, look at that. It even kept the motion tween. Look at that. If it doesn't keep the motion tween, you know how to make one. The shape tween. You can always right click and say create shape tween. But it kept mine for some reason, so I'll take it. All right, let's say that I didn't want to draw a whole bunch more frames of my original layer. Let's call this shape tween. Special characters are not permitted. Okay, that's fine. Shape underscore tween, no spaces, I guess. Shape underscore tween is the proper syntax. I'm going to draw a couple more frames on my frame by frame layer. I'm going to turn on onion skin, and I'm going to grab pencil tool. This time I'm going to do something a little bit more interesting. Well, now it's not cooperating with my fill. Let's see if I can go back and fix that. Let's go to the next frame. Oops, I keep trying to draw with a paint bucket, which does not work. Start to make a rounded triangle here. All right, super crude animations, my apologies. So let's turn off onion skinning and let's figure out why that's not letting me fill those shapes in real quick like. Paint bucket is red. Okay. Maybe. I'm gonna have to figure that out, but in the meantime, I really need this to work, so let's just color it in this way. Okay, so I've got a bunch of bad animation frames here. And let's just say I wanted to repeat them. I could easily copy all of these frames if I wanted to. Copy frames. Let's see, I don't remember if I need to have an empty frame or not. Nope, I don't. I'm gonna select those and remove frames. And now I have a clean 20 frames of animation that I can loop. Not great animation. I didn't promise you great animation. But you can copy and paste frames. You can move frames. Let's see. So let's save this thing. I'm going to call this tutorial test. And I'm going to save it. I'm going to open up After Effects. We have two layers that we created in Adobe Animate, and when we import this FLA file, that is the file format that Animate generates. When we import the FLA straight into After Effects, it's going to generate a couple of files that I will show you in 1 second. Let's do a new project. Keep in mind that our project is 15 frames a second. 1920 by 1080. All right, let's do tutorial test. Import that. See how it's called a .fla file? That's a leftover from the olden days when Animate was called Flash. So I'm just going to import that. It's going to ask me where it wants me to put the .swf or the SWF files. So right now, by default, it just saves them to the same place where the FLA is saved. So I'm okay with that. There's no audio, so I don't need to check anything there. I'm going to click OK. And you will see if I double click tutorial test. Let's see, you can't see what I'm looking at. I'm going to go to workspace minimal. Okay, everything's here. I've got 15 frame, 1920, 1080. There we go. So everything we were seeing in Animate, we're now seeing in After Effects. And our layers are separate, intact. So that's all good. Let's go to the Finder real quick just to see what we did there. Let's go to... Inside the tutorial test folder, which is what After Effects was asking us, where do we want to save this folder? There, you'll see that there are two little SWIFs, Shape, Tween, and Frame by Frame. Those are separate little movies that if we wanted to replace them at any time, if we wanted to go back in to animate and change colors or add layers or whatever, there is a way to do that. It doesn't just automatically update like Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop, unfortunately. We need to go in Animate, we need to go to File, Publish Settings, and I've already done this ahead of, oh no, it's reset itself, so that's good. I can show you what you need to do. Let's uncheck everything in this left column here under Publish and under Other Formats except for SWIF Archive. And then I'm going to go ahead and click Publish and OK. And you'll see that what it makes is a little zip file here called Tutorial Test. Inside that file, I'll have all my updated SWIFs. Now, I can either drag these SWIFs inside my After Effects file and update them that way, or I can just replace them here in my tutorial test. It says, hey, an older item's here. Do you want to replace it? I'm going to click yes, I do want to. And then in After Effects, the source file will be updated. I might have to go in here to my folder. Let's see, what did we do? Shape Tween. I might have to go in here and reload footage. But anyway, there is a way to go back into Animate, make changes. You have to re-export the SWIFs and then reload. It's not quite as elegant as Illustrator and Photoshop, which I'm sorry for, but you know, I didn't write the program, so. I think that's where I'm going to end it today. I will add more if necessary. Enjoy.